One thing about security engineering, this may be a clip, is that if it's the whole point of engineering is that you don't have to trust anything. For example, the Tor network, one of the top anonymity technologies developed by the United States military. We may not trust that. You obviously you'd say, I don't trust that. The US government surveils. But the whole point of engineering is you don't have to trust it. You take a look under the hood and you see they made it for the same reason that it helps whistleblowers.
Yeah, and wasn't the military the ones that built actually the internet initially?
I'm not sure, but probably. I'm sure that they had a significant stake in it, especially given that they did build a lot of decentralized networks. So I'm not sure, but I would go out on a limb and say that they probably did have a significant stake in it.
Did you know that the CTO of Ripple, right? His name's David Schwartz. In 1988, he worked for the NSA. 1988, he filed a patent for a multi-level distributed computer network. Basically, bro, 1988. So I believe the NSA was already working on it, like he was involved. And that's way before Bitcoin's time. And it's just kind of crazy, like really like digging to the past and seeing like this has been planned for a very long time.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure that as soon as information technologies were formally introduced to operations and nation states started to realize that that managing them was mission critical, I'm sure that right then and there, they realized that they were going to revolutionize the financial system.
Do you think maybe they started Bitcoin at first as like a ploy, right? It's kind of like, hey, down with the government, down with the banks, use this. And then ultimately they're going to destroy it at the end to usher in the new system?
That's hard to say, mainly because I don't know enough about Bitcoin and how it's actually built, but that is the kind of thing that can happen. Certainly, I think that there was some government involvement in Bitcoin. They recognized that. See, before we thought that it was an anonymous coin. As it turns out, it really never was. I think that back when it was smaller, it was able to be used for anonymous transactions. I might be wrong on that, but then once it really got big, I think that something about Bitcoin changed, and then that's when we had the public ledger.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the new system, that brings us to what I wanted to talk about and what you suggested we talk about, which is after the boom. Because after the boom, we're going to have a new system. And whether or not that was intentionally kind of like, Bitcoin was destroyed, blown to smithereens for the new system, or whether or not it was kind of more of a multivariate thing or complete accident, anywhere between those two polar opposites. Still, there's one thing that I'm certainly sure of, which is that we are ushering in the new financial system in co-aligning with the fourth industrial revolution.
100%. So after the boom, right? So right now on your ledger, your Trezor, your cold wallet, it's in escrow, wherever it may be that you feel it's secure. After the boom, now what? How do you go about securing your assets, especially if this person knows you hold XRP, that person knows, and all of a sudden XRP's at $1,000 and they see you at $50 million, right? What would you do?
Well, so what I'm doing now is, first of all, I don't have anywhere except for between you and me how much coins I have. That's the first thing. These people who go around and they tell people like, oh, I just bought 5,000 XRP. You tell your girlfriend that, you guys break up, and then suddenly, somebody knows that you're a multimillionaire. You never know, right?
Yeah. Her new boyfriend's knocking on your door now.
Right. Probably doesn't know about crypto.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. And that, in terms of like incident response life cycle, which is what I deal with now, you could call that preparation. Now, after the boom, what I'm going to do is for me, I'm going to talk to you and have a conversation that then we're going to extrapolate out to the Stargate community, which is hedging our bets. In other words, obviously, I have a special fondness for crypto that I don't have for dollars. But on the other hand, as a professional, I recognize how I got the crypto in the first place, which is cash.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to now bring some crypto back into cash? Because cash is an investment. And I don't want to overinvest, but I also don't want to underinvest. So that would be the first thing, is deciding how much of this am I going to bring back into the matrix financial system versus cash.
because that you need that stability, right? Like, all right, a lot of people think XRP is going to moon to $1,000 and just stay there flat. But is that really a likely scenario? Who knows? If it's tied to something, maybe a commodity or like a bond, that could be the case. But what if it's not the case? What if it's a straight up to 1,000, then back down to 100? Do you really want to, that's a big kind of loss in between. That's the difference between 100 million and 10 million, maybe.
That's the thing, is that we always like to think about binaries because it's easier to collapse possibilities down into two. But the truth is, XRP isn't either going to do nothing or go to 1,000, or it's not either going to stay there or go down. It very well could have a colorful spectrum of occurrences. And during that, hedging your bets, and really people like yourself, that's where you come in and say, well, cash is an investment. How much of an investment do you want to make in cash? And then probably not zero, probably not everything. So yeah, you're right. Selling at the right time can be a thing. It's also possible that XRP continues to go up for some time. But in general, with this new system, we're going to be using some sort of fiat currency for a while. We will never solve the problem completely that the entryway into the new system is through the fiat system.
Yep. Just in a digital format way. It's never going to just be like, oh, Bitcoin's the new currency of the world. And there's going to be.
If anything, the reason why XRP is so cataclysmic and revolutionary is because it has the most interoperability with the legacy financial system.
Yeah. And that's why they're so scared of it. The legacy crypto crowd is like down with Ripple, down with XRP, because they want to usher in that libertarian movement. But how likely is that going to happen? I mean, the governments and banks will bring out the tanks before they let go of their power, which is the money, So that's what the CEO of Ripple had said. And it's just facts when you really think about it. So
that's an extremely important point. I'm glad that you brought that up. So we hedge our bets. We make sure that we're wise with who we tell about specific crypto, and especially addresses, particular addresses. Because I know that back in the day, people used to put out their addresses like putting out their Venmos.
Yeah.
And then you end up getting inundated with automatic bot activity. So you hedge your bets, and then I suppose that you start exploring projects, because once there's a new financial system, there will probably be other projects. It's not like everything's just going to moon at once. So, and this is also where your expertise comes in as a financial and cryptocurrency kind of like chimera between the two professional, is what projects are likely to moon in what order. And you don't have to be exact, but even just being general, that would be my next thing, because my perspective of security, the way I look at this, and why I start with hedging bets, is securing wealth, which is somewhat different from just cybersecurity. This is also kind of a general security wisdom that you need there.
Yeah, kind of the overall main theme is just hedging your bets, whether it be in a security aspect and an investment aspect. And you brought up a good point as well, too. It's that at first I was like all in XRP. I was like, I'm not grabbing any other coin, right? And I was doing that for years and years and years. And then I was like, in 2020, I was like, you know what? I maybe should scoop up a bunch of other coins just in case XRP is the last one to go. And that was probably the best decision that I made, because like everything, like VeChain up 50x, Theta up 100x. We're talking turning $1,000 to 100K. Now you can buy XRP at 50 cents and now get what? 200,000 XRP. Then XRP moons, say, to $10, $100. Now you're talking like 2 million, 20 million off of $1,000. So like once you make that portion, once enough's enough, then taking it out and putting it into another solid project that may not even be kind of alive right now in a sense. And you also brought up a good point as well, too, as far as there's a lot of people that don't ever want to get rid of their XRP. They want to just hold on to it. And it's funny because last night I developed a strategy of exiting XRP in like the most basic format ever. And I kind of want to show you that real quick and run through.
Oh, yes. That I was going to ask you about that today during this call. That was part of why I wanted, was the altcoin strategy.
Dude, fire. That shit's fire. So I'm going to show you my screen right now. Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. So first off, I got this. So if you didn't want to go into any other altcoin off your XRP, but you did want to kind of hedge your bets and scale out, then I came up with this kind of formula as to how you could do it, right? Say current price of XRP is at 30 cents, right? And you put in $3,000. So you have around like 10,000 XRP. So every time the price 10x's, so it goes from 30 cents to $3, right? You're just taking 10% off the table. 10% off the table. So then if it 100x's, 10% off, 1000x, 10% off. A lot of people think it's going to go to 3,000, 30,000, 330, 30, 300, very likely. 3,000, maybe. 30,000, let's hope so. But just in that event, you could take 10% off on the first 10x. So then you would have your initial investment back at $3,000 plus a free 7,000 XRP. It's like you never put money into it in the first place. You're securing your initial investment. Now you have 7,000 free XRP. Then when it hits $30 after 100x, then you take 10% off. Now you're minusing 700 XRP. So you have 6,300 XRP for free. And now $21,000 cash, which if it drops down now, you can then put it back in if you want, or you could just kind of, secure it. Then if it goes to $300, another 10%. So now you have $189,000 cash plus 5,670 XRP for free, right? Wow. Then it goes to $3,000. You're taking another 10%. So that means you have $1.7 million cash, plus you still have 5,103 XRP from that initial $3,000 investment that you already secured back. So then for the final 10% off at 30,000, if it ever reaches there, let's hope. Now you're looking at legit $15 million, and you still are holding 4.5 or 4,500 XRP for free. So you're like 50% still invested into XRP for long-term holdings, as well as you just secured $15 million, right? Like all it takes for this strategy really is to have a well-calculated strategy, $3,000 initial investment, patience, conviction, and discipline. That's
right. So that is exactly what the type of thing that I'm looking for in terms of hedging. And I feel like you're very technically gifted at this, but it shows people who are less technically gifted in charts the thing that they've always said, one of the cardinal rules of investing, which is to have an exit strategy. And that's a lesson that I've certainly learned in the stock market, is even if you make a good investment without that exit strategy, it turns into a bad investment because you wait too long.
Yeah. I always tell people time decay. The longer something hasn't it's gone up and it hasn't done anything and just staying there, as time goes on, more events could unfold that could negatively impact the price, or, just the natural kind of, wave of prices coming back down. You would hate to spend 2 years watching something go up to the moon. You just made an incredible grand slam trade just to watch it for 2 years come back down to the same level that you bought it at, right? So 100%, this is a way easier way kind of think about it. Every time at 10X's, I'm taking 10% off. And so that's for like non-technical people that don't want to get into the pair-to-pair rack strategy. So the rapid accumulation of coin strategy. I love that. I love that acronym.
Yeah.
A lot of people, dude, I have not seen anybody do this. I really haven't. And I have not seen anybody set up the Discord like we got it set up. And just as like a plug in here, Black Friday sale, 3 days, get access to the Discord, the autonomous signals in here. Like I just set up a bunch last night. We got the pair-to-pair signals, which is the rack strategy, as well as we got stocks, the 10-year bond, the US dollar, oil, commodities. So we can get a holistic view of the market so we can kind of gauge where we're at. And then say cryptos are flashing sell nows, right? On the higher timeframes, but then gold and silver are like buy nows on the higher timeframes. Now we can take our profits and see, hey, maybe it's a good time to shovel it into some physical gold, physical silver, or digital tokenized representation of gold or silver that's sitting in the vault that's tied to a blockchain address, right? So there's so many things, and we can't even imagine some of the offerings and new product services that are going to be unveiled with blockchain as well. But for the pair-to-pair signals, right? Like I personally don't want to trade XRP to Bitcoin or XRP to Ethereum because I think that they've already, I mean, for Ethereum to go, say it's at like $2,000 right now to 20K, I mean, that's a 10X, that's a good move, but we're talking about $20,000 per token. That's a lot. And a lot of people getting into the space, they don't have 20K to buy just one coin. They want to buy, like the Shiba Inu, they want to buy, a ton of the coin with a little bit of money. So that's why I want to trade ISO to ISO coins just in the event that I get caught in a bad trade where I'll just hold the bag because I'm not going to complain if I have, XLM or the XRP and it goes kind of the wrong way where XLM outperforms and I'm holding more XRP. But this will it's a great strategy to accumulate more coins with not adding in extra money, but utilizing what you're already holding and looking at the bigger picture, higher timeframes to really hit it on the head as far as macro changes in direction. Like you don't want to be caught day trading with this kind of strategy. You really want to time it well so you can maximize your gains. Like if we're looking at the XRP to XLM chart, right now we're at a critical moment. If XRP busts through that horizontal red line, I had put it in a TikTok video, it's going to absolutely moon. And I'm going to throw all my XLM into XRP if that's the case. Because if XRP pulls a double or a 10X over XLM, now I can just shovel 10% of that XRP back into XLM, get the same amount of XLM, but have, 9X more cash in XRP, right? So there's so many kind of strategies you can do it for, and you can do it for the cryptos you like to hold. A lot of people like Avalanche or Solana or like HBAR and Algo over XRP, XLM. You can do it with any coin to coin, right?
Right. So this systems engineering here is why people need to come to Stargate, because this is a unique combination of systems engineering and technical analysis, which is usually separate from fundamental analysis. But if you can go and look at these things you're describing, and then also look at 10-year yield bonds, US oil, now you're able to use your inductive reasoning and actually get into macros at the same time.
Yeah.
So that is very, very nice. I love to hear that.
View. And taking the yes, we're looking at the technicals, but we're also kind of filtering through fundamentals because we're only doing this with projects that are fundamentally sound, that we want to hold, that are utility driven. We're not doing like XRP to Shiba Inu, where if I get caught in a bad trade, I'm holding a bag of worthless Shiba Inu, right? Now, so we're taking the fundamentals, tying it together with the technicals, taking the bigger picture look at the macro economy, tying that in to have a clear, definitive strategy that will just ultimately work if you have the discipline, the patience, and you have these signals here that will give you the keys as far as when it's time to pull out, when it's time to get back in, right?
That's the thing. And people have to be willing to make an investment in education if they're not trying to do all this by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think that more than ever, it's important now that crypto forms a more strong community. And that's why I like to see this, because I mean, the community behind the dollar is kind of disenfranchised right now. And I think it's more one of those things. It's kind of like your school, you're just kind of all there. You're all just stuck there. You all know each other because you all go to the same school. That's what the US dollar feels like right now. And it's great because you're able to take it and make investments and all that. But I think one of the things that makes cryptocurrency different is the fact that it's community driven, oftentimes community developed. And so it's different. You don't really have to learn quite as much if you're just, trading a little bit here and there. But in this case, this strategy that you're outlining, and I love how complex it is. It's really quite brilliant. One thing that we should note too is that we're in our 20s. Right? This is how you want to invest when you're young. Now, there's no one size fits all. If you're an older person and you're trying to hedge your bets against the dollar, then perhaps you have more of a reason to trade more in the Bitcoin, the Ethereum. You're trying to hold it there in a cryptographic asset that's non-custodial. But in this case, I feel like a lot of people who are young, they're getting so paranoid about investing that they're investing like boomers.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. Like, this is a once in a generation opportunity. Like, one of the deep dives I did, Holy Grail of cross-border payments, they said that they're going to be able to solve a problem that has been one for thousands of years, like literally decentralized ledgers, DLT, blockchain-based systems with digital assets sitting on top of it to have that value transfer mechanism. Game changer. And we're entering this fourth industrial revolution, this internet of value. And it's kind of like hop on board now. Cause I mean, like we're seeing the signs, it's coming. If people say AI is not coming, the blockchain ain't coming, the digital dollars ain't coming. I mean, like, look at the news, like they're leading up to it. And it seems like we're very close to the grand finale. So this kind of ties into a little bit of getting back to the security aspect. I want to bring up a couple things that Phoenix said, and maybe you can shed some light on it.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. All right, let's see here. Paper wallets, right? So Phoenix believes that paper wallets are the most secure in case of a cyber outage, right? So can you shed a little bit of light on that? So like, I know the paper wallets, you know, you can transfer to a different type of, you know, paper wallet, etc. But is that still a hot wallet though?
That's a good question. So incidentally, because I've been in cybersecurity, I've only really started to learn about paper wallets in the last like 2 weeks. So you correct me if I'm wrong, but a paper wallet is a wallet where you keep your public key and your private key on physical paper. As far as I can tell, the hardware wallet, you would not really be at a risk of losing your private key because your public key is extrapolated out from your private key. And as far as I can tell, the cryptography behind hardware wallets is not unique. It's the same cryptography that's used for private public key pairs that's been the foundation of the internet since the inception of the internet. And that is that the public key is algorithmically extrapolated from the private key. So and then with ledgers or with Trezors or any wallet, they should all work the same way. Your 24 words is what you create the private key out of. So basically the 24 words is just a human readable version of a private key. I think it's RSA 4096. Could be wrong about that, but it's something to that effect.
God,
I would say paper wallets, if you're worried about your device being backdoored, are always gonna be safer, but you will have a problem, which is that you now have no choice but to store them physically. And now you're really battling either with other people who might harm the confidentiality of those keys, or with yourself and your own stringent strategy, which might harm the availability of those keys. So then you're going to have one paper wallet. If that gets destroyed, you're screwed. You have two. Where are you going to put the other one? A bank vault? If you don't trust the banks, you don't trust the system, that's not an option. A friend? What if somebody comes after your friend because they're easier to compromise? Or your friend's careless? Your parents? If you're rich, you're putting your parents in danger. So I would say that paper wallets are good, but they're not a suitable solution if you're concerned about every threat and you fail the threat model.
Yeah, no, that entirely makes a lot of sense. So like kind of like a paper wallet is like, if I went to a Bitcoin ATM and I bought some Bitcoin there, right? That QR code that comes out, whatever, that's like the seed phrase, right? That's our paper wallet right there. One thing is like, it really depends on the person. A lot of people can't trust themselves to be able to confidently store that paper wallet. They'd rather have the ledger. It's easier for them. So I guess it really all boils down to, how worried are you about it? What is your kind of capability? And then as well as, do you already have kind of people knowing about it? They've been trying to get you, you know, like type of thing. Like, so there's a lot of things that go into it. I still believe at the end of the day, like we're talking about the concept of what we were saying, hedging your bets, spreading it across exchanges, different ledgers, paper wallets, maybe put a little bit in escrow, right? Just in case everything else goes to shit. Escrow is sitting there ready for you. I wouldn't lock it up till 2030 though, type of thing, you know?
Right.
So there's those aspects as well too. What if you mess up the escrow, right? And then it's just like locked in there. So it depends on the capabilities of the person. And what is your thoughts on when the banks are ready to custody our crypto assets? Would you hand it right over, or how do you feel about that?
Well, it would depend on the optics of the whole scenario. I'll have to be predictive and inductive in this case, because there's some details that we have to fill in. But I'm going to assume that, like a lot of things, if there's an interest for the legacy financial system to try to gain custody of our coins, they're going to try to make some sort of upside for those who decide to do it. Whether or not this is done with a pernicious intent remains to be seen, but there's no doubt in my mind that there would be an upside. So perhaps that would be a form of hedging. Like, kind of like how they get people to invest in their legacy system by matching 401ks and bonds and all that stuff, right? Yeah, because that's what you need to prop up Social Security and keep funneling stuff in, and that's not necessarily actually a bad thing. So I would consider it, certainly without knowing the optics, the details. I can't be sure that I wouldn't, but at the same time, I'd be careful, because that's the kind of thing that can very slowly but surely change the fundamental purpose of crypto, which is coming and needs to be guided in the right direction. One thing to note about paper wallets is that it would appear that paper wallets have a risk of loss and damage where you cannot restore them. So it would seem that with a hardware wallet, if you were worried about losing your crypto, you'd want to have a hardware wallet so that you can restore the keys. A quick note about hardware wallets, because I did more research in them as I was conversing with Phoenix, is if you don't trust hardware wallets, you may not be wrong to not trust them, but in that case, you should not trust the blockchain itself, because hardware wallets, like a ledger, it has different features somewhat than a Trezor, that has different features somewhat than a Decent, Epipol, Titan, you name it. Or a lot of those smaller brands that are more libertarian, only hold Bitcoin. All of those products, they have these differences on the user side, but actually they work in the exact same way if they're made properly, which is they create an air gap, which if you're in cyber, you're familiar with air gap. But basically, it's like an SSD, right? I'm not hacking your offline SSD because it's air gapped. It's air gapped from the network. There's no way that I can connect to it without physically. So it's air gapped, it's encrypted, and then it enforces hardware-based authentication and authorization. And so if you're worried about that getting hacked, which maybe you should, then you shouldn't invest in crypto, because in that case, you think the blockchain itself is suspect. If you don't trust that, why do you trust the decentralized servers that could be anywhere in anyone's possession? In other words, I trust them, but if you don't trust that, what it means is that you either don't understand encryption or you don't trust encryption. Either way, it's fine, but I'm the cryptographer, and so it's my job to create systems for untrustworthy missions, missions where you cannot trust. You have to, in the very least, verify after you trust.
Gotcha.
Just wanted to note that real quick, because I started to look and I said, hardware wallets are basically just a way of accessing the blockchain. And it's just it's a ghost of a bunch of security engineering strategies that are just put together, like we were saying last video.
Love it, bro. So I have a question. What if I'm somebody who suspects I may be hacked, right? There's a hacker on my network, right? But I'm not sure of it 100%, right? I feel as if that's the case. How can I go about protecting myself? Or maybe if, I'm just weary, but I have to make a ledger transaction or a cold, right. Should I disconnect from the internet when doing that? What are some preventative protective ways that I can go about the processes if I think I'm hacked, or maybe I am hacked, right? And I don't know it yet? That's
a great question. So first things first is that referring to that whole explanation of Ledger and or Trezor or Decent, those hardware wallets, part of what makes that air gap where you have this encrypted seed and you need to sign transactions is that really the only thing that is important about that is the buttons. All those things is just a way of enforcing that the person who made the pin is the person who presses the buttons. And so if your computer is infected with malware and you're using a Trezor or you're using a Ledger, you should not have any issues. The only thing that'll give you issues, and this has been pointed out correctly, and this I suspect has happened, is if you get, whether your computer was compromised or you actually downloaded a faulty version of your hardware wallet software, they can manipulate the addresses. But if you actually check on your device before you sign the transaction, you will see a difference. The reason why that you will, yes, there's no way. If anybody finds that to not be true, then I properly eat my words, and that means I made a bad investment, right? But I'm hedging my bet on the fact that that cryptography is solid, because that is what makes up ultimately the blockchain. To answer your question directly, you want to first of all run an operating system that you're comfortable with, that you enjoy using, and you want to make sure that whatever security system is on there, like Mac has their built-in, Windows has Windows Defender, you want to make sure that you run regular security scans and update the computer as soon as you can. And other than that, you just want to make sure that you have strong passwords. And to answer the part about if you suspect you've been hacked, run a virus scan. But if you suspect that you have a novel hack, what you should do is you can either hire somebody like myself, or even just look a little bit online, because you don't have to be an expert to do this. If you're actually hacked and you download free and open source software called Wireshark, run Wireshark and see. Let's say your computer does not have a browser open, but then you open up your trading app and you see it's sending a bunch of stuff to a server. Look up the server. And let's say it's a Binance server, congratulations, you're in the clear. If it brings you to some Chinese HTTP proxy, that's malicious. And that almost never happens, but I do that for a job. And so that is one way that you can tell, is that the malware won't, especially when it comes to crypto, it won't usually sit there and do nothing. It typically has some sort of callback to a server. And then past that, if you're suspecting something like a rootkit or something that's, because those can be very hard to get out, what you have to do is you have to first of all think, what's the likelihood I really have one? Like, what did I do that I think that there's like some extremely subtle, very persistent malware? So you have to be honest and think about that, because just going to a sketchy website probably isn't going to do that. You probably downloaded and executed some, or somebody malicious had physical access to your computer. And if you suspect that, bring it to somebody like me who can do a full forensic disk scan. Or if you don't want to do that and you have a backup that was taken before that malicious activity happened, simply wipe it, restore the backup.
Dude, a whole lot of great info right there. First of all, Wireshark, I'm definitely going to use that out there. Number two, I think I might have you come over and do that deep scan on my stuff. I got a little bit of some concerns of people that have been around in the past. So definitely have you come over and do that. Another thing is Linux and antivirus software, right? Mm-hmm. McAfee software, right? A or nay?
Man, that's a good question too. I think McAfee is pretty good. It wouldn't be my go-to. On Windows, a lot of people don't even run third-party software because Windows Defender has gotten so much better in previous years. As far as Mac goes, you'll have to enlighten me, because I don't usually use Mac, although I'm familiar with Unix. So Mac doesn't have a built-in, you get a third-party antivirus.
It doesn't have one.
I would look at Malwarebytes first.
Malwarebytes, okay.
McAfee, I think, is pretty good. John McAfee stopped owning the company several years ago, and he said it's pretty much worthless now. He was the one that developed it in the first place. And I know from being on the Windows side when I got into computing that McAfee was an antivirus that pretty much acted like a virus. It popped up a lot. In terms of the security scan, I'm happy to do that for you. And another thing is, we can set it up. There are things that you can do so that if there are people around your computer, you can have these kind of controls. Going back to the concept of intrusion detection, one of the most common attacks that leads to serious computer compromise physically, it's called the evil maid attack. And it's called evil maid because it implies that somebody will have repeated access physically to a computer. So you think the evil maid that comes in with the duster and then sticks a flash drive in. There are things that you can do to detect that and to prevent some of that stuff from happening. And one of the first things we do is full disk encryption, so that when you're done with your computer, you power it all the way off. And now, in order to do anything, in order to get anything in the bootloader, which might be able to compromise your boot process, you would have to put in this encryption key first. And that, let's say you have a password manager that you get through your phone and computer, that is going around with you. So if I'm in there, I want to hack your computer, but you have that control in place, I got to either steal your phone and try to brute force your phone, or I got to try to brute force your computer. Either way, I'm not going to be able to do that without you knowing that something's up.
Okay. Okay. And is there a way to track a hacker who has hacked you?
It depends on how, in the same way that you can sometimes track a bank robber that's robbed a bank. It depends on if they left fingerprints, if they dropped some hairs, and it depends on what they did, because somebody could hack you by, they didn't even try to hack you. They just put something on a website that's just puts a crypto miner on a bunch of people's computers and just they let it run. That could be them hacking you, but also it could be somebody that you had over who literally who snaked you, who put a flash drive in your computer and tried to keylog you to get your passwords. So it depends. Oftentimes you can at the very least find out a lot about how the hacker works, but you cannot necessarily tell who hacked you, especially if it's one of the more kind of like minor hacks that you find out later.
Are you able to get it like a timestamp of when the intrusion happened, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. You can get all technical details. It's just a problem of tying it to identity.
Gotcha.
Of a human identity. But you absolutely, anything that can be detected as a hack, part and parcel of that is the ability to look at all sorts of technical indicators and signatures. If it's somebody that was physically within your network, you're going to be able to probably look at MAC addresses that connect to the router, etc.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. We're good at connecting the dots. So we get the timestamp of like when it happened, where were we at, who are we with? We'll figure it out.
And one thing that security, sorry, I'll let you get that, but one thing that security researchers have gone into is honeypots. If you suspect, this is big brain security. You set up something to be hacked and you see who hacks it and how they do it. Better if it's physical, you see who you can really trust.
The cyber attack honeypot. That might have to be the thumbnail or the catch.
That would be great. What were you saying?
As far as Linux goes, I do remember a lot of people asking, like, how do I learn Linux? Like, is that something that you could teach people? Like, could we do like a subset, like maybe like 9 to 13 videos, tutorial step by step of how to get set up with Linux?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
What I would start with, whether you're on Windows or Mac, because most people are on one or the other, is download VirtualBox and then just start to look up Linux distros or Linux distributions. I would say if somebody's getting into it, if they really want to get into like, if they want to cut straight to just hard privacy, they should get Debian, or better yet, they should get a Linux distro called KickSecure, which is just a hardened, very, very privacy oriented version of Debian, which is like one of the most common software for servers. But I ran that on a desktop for years. But if you're just trying to learn Linux, because I feel like that's probably what most people want to do, get Linux Mint or Ubuntu. Those are both user-friendly, beautiful. They run fast. You can have an old computer that runs Windows very slowly, but it runs Linux like that because there's not a lot of bloatware on it. So download VirtualBox, and then I'll help people if they need it. But all you really have to do is just go to, ubuntu.com, download the official ISO. Usually they literally have like an ISO for VirtualBox. Or for VMware or for KVM. And so you just find yours and then you go into VirtualBox, new machine. It's going to have you import a file. Your file is the virtual machine ISO file. It's a disk image. And then it pretty much walks you through the process, make a strong password, and then now you're running Linux. And then that's the gateway drug. I started out that way. And then I said, well, I'm doing privacy operations. I'm storing, archiving information, conducting penetration testing. And so I figured, now that I'm doing all this, why would I have all of this privacy architecture on a closed source host? And so then I said, let's have Linux on top of Linux. But anyway, I'm absolutely happy to help people do that.
Absolutely. And if anybody has like a question or they just love this video and they want us to do more security tips, I think we should do a weekly thing, bro. I seen people in the comments, they're loving it. They love you. So
absolutely. I couldn't even wait a week. I got up this morning and I thought I need to talk to Rob about security. People need to know. And people also need to know what they're going to do when their cryptocurrency goes up through the roof. Absolutely. Like what the hell would you do if you wake up and you have millions of dollars? I think most people can't handle it. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. Like
I think most people have no idea what they're getting into.
Because you can think it and be like, great, like, oh, it's going to be so amazing. But once it's just there, it's like, oh, okay, now what? And that's why we're here.
I think only poor people think that being rich is easy. I mean, it's nice and all, but I think that's what poor people think. And then once you get money, if it's easy, then what will happen is you will systematically deplete your wealth.
Yeah. And that's,
or you'll learn things, but you'll have to learn those things.
That's the key. It's like, all right, so how can we attain wealth? Through investing in utility driven digital assets. Then it's the extra step. It's like, all right, how can I maintain and preserve my wealth? And then the next extra step after that is, okay, now how do I grow my wealth now at this point? That's like the 3-step killer. We're going to have to do a video on that, bro.
Yes. Because it really does become an all-encompassing thing. You in order to secure your wealth, you have to learn things. So a popular security researcher named Bruce Schneier said, security is not a product, it's a process. But a lot of that is the same in finance as well, right? It's not just an investment, it's a continual process. And once you're at that level, at the top level, it comes down to everything. Your judgment dictates how much you're going to be able to maintain, because at that level, everything is exponential, everything is calculated. And a lot of people, even if they make good money, and I hope that everybody watching this does, keep in mind that if you make too much money, the calculus of life will show you limits.
And it never stops there. You never want to get complacent, because it's like, all right, you make this money and like say you're in XRP, all these coins, right? But then like, and you take a couple of years off, right? And you're out of the know, right? All of a sudden XRP starts tanking, or like XLM or these coins or whatever cash, right? You always got to be on top of the trends, because like that's the biggest thing. I think there's like a quote that like the 3rd generation of like a rich family usually loses it. It's because you got to have those principles. You got to understand it. You got to learn it and adopt that kind of mindset and execute on it. And as time goes on, the latter generations start to tend to forget that, because it's that hard work that we're all putting in right now to get us to build that first generational wealth, right? So that's like teaching our kids and teaching the people around us like the keys to maintaining it. I'd rather take the knowledge over the $1 million, because with the knowledge we can make another $1 million, right? Right.
It's like the dinner with Jay-Z, and we're talking about security, finance. And in my field, we talk about people, processes, and technology. And the thing is, and the reason why people need to sign up for Stargate, need to get plugged in with my security education, your crypto indicators, getting into all of this, is because in the end, even the most complex computer engineering was ultimately made by people for people. And ultimately, this all comes down to people. It all comes down to human beings. Going through the Stargate on the other side, it's us. There's people. There's no amount of money that can or should disenfranchise you from your fellow person. And so in the end, once you go through the Stargate and you have all that money, I'm the security guy, but a lot of this is securing us as individuals, securing our wealth. Securing our computers is just the beginning. Once we do that, that just sets the foundation so that we can have something to lose and not lose it.
Exactly. And then Alan had promised us that he will be everybody's personal bodyguard once XRP blows up to $1,000. Love it.
That's cool, because I've been investing in, let's say, some other physical assets that fire bullets.
I love it, bro. I love it.
It's actually gold.
I know Alan has a hot date tonight, so I don't want to hold him too long, but any questions you guys have for him, this guy knows. So drop it in the comments. Join the Discord. Join the security privacy chat. It was fire. We had a little round for round box. I asked Phoenix if he or she would come on a Zoom and I'd be the mediator and you guys do a blow for blow. Would you be willing to do that if Phoenix agrees? And a friendly one, right?
I'd be more than willing, but we have to have cameras on.
Oh, jeez. No, I don't know if that's gonna fly.
if that's impossible, I'll still do it.
Okay, you can put your camera off then.
Yeah, no, I can't. I could never do that. I gotta.
Yeah, we need
I gotta smile for the thumbnail, right?
There we go. There we go. All right, Alan, thank you so much, bro. I will catch up with you this weekend. Happy Thanksgiving and good luck on your date tonight, bro.
Absolutely. Through the Stargate.
To the moon, baby.
I'ma keep the case clean, I won't shroud it in no love. Getting laced at the seams, turning powder into dust. I need space for my team, it's getting crowded in the club. Now